Good morning, and we're in chapter 26 today. And as you see in the summary, it says that David has to spare Saul's life again. So Saul is really after him. And the Ziphites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth David hide himself in the hill of Hitchkala, which is before Jezreel? Basically, they're saying, yeah, we know where he hides. When Saul arose and went down to the wilderness, as if having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him to seek David in the wilderness, as if Saul's really got a problem here, doesn't he? He's already been saved once by Saul, and now again, he just can't leave alone. He's just got this idea that if David becomes king, that's the end for him, which I guess is kind of true, but it's just not doing him any favors. And Saul pitched in the hill of Hitchkala, which is before Jessamon, by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, not in the cave like they thought. And he saw Saul come after him in the wilderness. David therefore sent out his spies and understood that Saul was come in very deed. And David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched. And David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, the captain of his hosts. And Saul lay in the trench, meaning the battlement or the barricade is a better word. And the people pitched round about him, so he was right in the middle of all these people. He's quite well protected. Then answered David and said to Amalek the Hittite and Abishai the son of Zeruiah, the brother of Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to the camp to Saul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with thee. I like that. What I think of is, remember, in Moses, Christ says, who will go down in creating the world? And it just reminded me of that. It's very tenuous in that connection, but connecting those sometimes brings thoughts and feelings and layers to the stories. And I kind of felt that way with this one. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the trench, and his spear struck in the ground at his bolster. Bolster, of course, is the head of the bed. So it was by the head of his bed. But Abner and the people lay round about him, so he was really well covered, even though his spear and things were right next to him. He had Abner and all the people round about him. Then said Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with a spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him a second time. I'll just do it. I'll be able to do it in one go. It won't. He's asleep. We can see him there. He's asleep. It was so easy. And David said to Abishai, "Destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?" Another little gem in there. Who can stretch forth a hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? He's talking about somebody that's tried to kill him several times, and yet he still acknowledges his position as king. But also, if we think of those that have been called and set apart for other things, bishops, stake presidents, the prophet, and so forth, and do we try to go against them and what they do and think that we're going to be guiltless for that? And David saying no. I find it also interesting, David being a foil for Christ as such. He no matter what he does is right, including not killing Saul. Saul seems to never quite get it, quite understand this, and I think sometimes even though the Lord can be perfect in our life, we will always find some way to lay him to blame or something for things that go wrong, or not see his hand and the blessings that he's given us. David said there, furthermore, "As the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall descend unto battle and perish." He's saying, you know what? I'm not going to take his life. If his life needs to be taken, it'll be because he dies in battle, or it'll be because it's time for him to die, not because of my hand. I'm not going to do that. And the Lord forbid that I should stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take thee out the spear that is in his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awakened, for they were all asleep because of a deep sleep from the Lord, which was fallen upon them. And that's happened in the Book of Mormon as well, times where some people have fallen into a deep sleep because of the Lord, or from the Lord, to help them. When David went over to the other side and stood, then David went out over to the other side and stood on the top of an hill far off, a great space between them. David cried to the people and to Abner, the son of Ner, saying, "Answerest thou not, Abner?" Then Abner answered and said, "Who art thou? Who criest to the king?" So it's getting morning time, they're waking up, and David yells across the valley to them, and he's going, "What? Who's saying this?" He can't quite get it. And David said to Abner, "Art not thou a valiant man? And who is like thee in Israel? Wherefore then hast thou not kept thy lord the king? For there came one of the people in to destroy the king thy lord. This thing is not good that thou hast done. As the Lord liveth, ye are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master, the Lord's anointed. Now see where the king's spear is, and the cruse of water that was at his bolster. It's really interesting. Here Abner is the captain of all the armies, and he's saying, you didn't do your job very well, did you? And Saul knew David's voice and said, is this thy voice, my son David? And David said, it is my voice, my lord, O king. And he said, wherefore doth my lord thus pursue this servant? For what have I done, or what evil is in mine hand? Again, no matter how good he is, it's not good enough for Saul. Now therefore, I pray thee, let the Lord the king hear the words of his servant. If the Lord have stirred thee up against me, let him accept an offering. So if it's something I've done against the Lord, then I will go and I will repent of that thing the best I can. But if they be the children of men, cursed be they before the Lord, for they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, go and serve other gods. You know, you're pushing me out. You're trying to say I can't even worship as I want, because you're always hunting me down and I can't do those things. I think that's a reason for you to be cursed, because I don't think this is from the Lord that you're doing this. I think it's from men. Now therefore, let not my blood fall unto the earth before the face of the Lord, for the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea, as when one doth hunt a partridge in the mountains. He's going, I'm like the least of these people. You've got all the other things to worry about, and you're worried about me seeking a flea, you know? Why are you coming after me? Then said Saul, I have sinned. Return, my son. I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool. I remember yesterday, Abigail's husband, his name meant the fool, and I thought it was interesting that today Saul basically calls himself a fool as well. And I've erred exceedingly. And David answered and said, behold, the king's spear. Let one of the young men come over and fetch it. The Lord render every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered thee into my hand today, but I would not stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. Again, he has this loyalty that even when he felt offended, or well, not just felt offended, this is quite, his life was in danger, he still recognized the Lord's anointed. And he's not stupid enough to go down to Saul at this time anyway. Behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be such set in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation. He's saying, this isn't over yet, but I will go on the Lord's timing, not your timing. Saul said to David, Blessed be thou, my son David. Thou shalt do great things, and also shalt still prevail. Remember, Israel is one who prevails with God. And I just thought that was interesting that that's in there, still prevail. He doesn't say with God, but I get that. So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. And you hope that that's the end of it. I haven't looked here, but we're not going to cover these verses. So David flees to Achish and Gath. He dwells among the Philistines for 16 months. So he's kind of hiding among the Philistines. Saul inquires of a witch of Endor for revelation. She foretells his death, the death of his sons, and the defeat of Israel by the Philistines. And Israel and the Philistines gather for war. The Philistines' princes sent David away. So he's got to know the Philistines, interesting enough. And remember what he said about, you're kind of driving me to worship other gods, to go to the Philistines instead of be where I feel that I should be, as how I read that. And the Amalekites, spoiled Ziklag and the borders of Judah. David smites Amalek and regains and divides the spoil. The Philistines defeat Israel, and Saul and his 3 sons are slain. Their bodies are retrieved by the Gileadites and burned. And there we have the first book of Samuel. And remember, Samuel's gone now, so Samuel's definitely not writing the second book. But we'll get into this tomorrow.